This video took way longer than I thought it would. And that's because I had to sanitize my load order before filming this. So it's finally time. Let's talk about every Skyrim mod you can run on the Steam Deck, and also the specific load order that I've created that is YouTube safe, and has been YouTube safe, so much so that I've actually started recording it for my second channel. But that playthrough is going to be really weird, and yeah, I don't know if I want you guys to see it or not. So let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. My name is Wolfy. You're watching GreaterThanPie, and today we're going to be talking about Skyrim mods. Now, before we get into the actual load order, I do want to talk about a couple of different things that, well, are pretty interesting when it comes to running Skyrim mods on the Steam Deck. For the most part, most mods will work, except for, well, three categories. ENB-based mods, reshade mods, and texture mods might not work, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Reshade mods don't work for the exact reason that, well, reshade isn't available on the Steam Deck. And on top of it, it has features that require a mouse and keyboard, and the idea of the Steam Deck is to be as portable as possible, so yeah, you're not going to want to use that. ENBs are mostly the same thing. They run in the background, they require special executables, and I've had them break more often than work. I had an ENB installed at one point. It did work for a little while, and then it just started breaking the engine apart. And it might just be that this needed to be patched. This was between that weird section where Skyrim got an update after not being updated for so long, that it could possibly work now. But I did find that they were really the most flaky thing to try to run on the Steam Deck. The last thing is texture mods. And texture mods are only a problem if you exceed a specific amount of memory. I had this mod installed, which looks great on PC, by the way. Unfortunately, if you remove it for the load order on the Steam Deck, it breaks textures. And if you try to run it on the Steam Deck, it will crash the game. And that's because you fill up the virtual memory, it tries to dump some of it, and it can't do that because it's just too much for it. So unfortunately, texture mods are one of those things where you have to be careful with. Now, you can do some high resolution textures. It's just when you do the entire world, it becomes a problem. There are some mods in this load order, such as 3D trees, majestic mountains, realistic water, UNP, better male remeshes, all that affect the textures of the game, but they keep everything within a specific memory limit. So please avoid anything that might increase the general texture resolution of everything and only focus on a couple of key items. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about some of the mods that you're not going to see in this load order, but we did test. If you want to use Flower Girl or SL, they work. They work 100% fine. And you can get SOS as well, not Soaring Over Skyrim, the other SOS. You can make that one work. There is a way to do it. You do have to install an extra mod to get it to work on the most recent version of Skyrim, but it will work. Animations work perfectly. Everything looks good relative to those things. And while they do work, there's a very clear reason why they're not in this version of my list. Okay? All right. Just know they work. They work perfectly fine. All right, now let's talk about the actual load order we're currently running.
Now, if you would like to play this load order here, I actually have a collection up on Nexus. The description of this video will also have this collection. It is a one-click download, and the only thing that you're going to have to actually download outside of this is something called Skyrim Script Extender. It's just Skyrim Script Extender, and it's this one that's SKSE. Looks like a pretty generic page, and then you download based off of the version you're trying to do. So this would be Anniversary Edition. You would download right there, and then you just extract that and put it directly into your Skyrim folder. I do want to go over a couple things. A couple of these mods are actually going to be marked as adult. And the reason for that is by default, these mods are traditionally used in more adult packs and have adult options. That being said, you can easily turn all of these to be a more safe for work version. Some of these, I'm surprised that they're actually even marked as adults, such as XP32 Maximum Skeleton Extender, which is used for all sorts of animation mods other than the adult versions. Some of these are just some simple texture upgrades for the beast races, which do not get any attention in UNP or CBBE, which UNP is installed because it has better compatibility with CBCP and has a generally faster loading model. And since we aren't focusing on adult mods, there really is no reason to go with CBBE, which is more detailed than UNP. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's actually talk about the various different mods that we've got installed. Spell perk item distributor is necessary to allow other spells to be distributed throughout multiple characters, including enemies. Sky UI is required for a bunch of stuff and to actually access the MCM. Now, there are a couple of engine fixes like the Sky UI flashing save game fix that are pretty much necessary. Race menu adds a ton of options when adjusting and creating your character and works hand in hand with race menu high heels fix. Address libraries SKSE plugins is actually a tool that is needed for some of these mods to run. Body slide outfit studio is a utility specifically to fix outfits up when they don't fit to your character. CBPC physics collisions for SKSE and Skyrim VR is pretty much the go-to physics simulation now. Court Wizards Can Teleport is one that kind of harkens back to the days of Morrowind. And, well, it's a little weird that it went away. Court Wizards Sell Staves is another one that, again, it's a little weird that they don't already sell them. Dragon Souls to perk points will allow you to convert those Dragon Souls into perks if you would like. Dynamic Animations Replacer allows you to, well, dynamically change animations, and it is required for some of the animation mods. Dynamic Distant Object LOD is a performance enhancement mod. Force New Idols is another framework piece that is necessary when having new animations and is hand in hand with XP32. Boost Road Do Silent Voices is a simple mod that allows non-voice acted characters to still have a voice. Intuitive Dragon Riding Control allows you to actually control dragons in a more appropriate way. MCM Helper is a utility for the MCM. If you've ever done the Stones quest inside Skyrim, you know it's a pain in the butt, so this is another one that's been a part of my load order. The unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch is there to, well, fix a lot of things. Unread Books Glow is a utility that allows you to find any book that you haven't read. Weapons and Armor Clutter fixes a bunch of clutter issues on armors. Power of 3 Papyrus Script Extender is another tool that is necessary for making, well, the Papyrus script extension work properly. And then there's also some tweaks that were recommended as well. A quality world map actually just simply does one thing. It makes the world map a little bit more detailed and a little bit nicer to look at. Athema Studios Elf Ears, which are enchantable. This mod is really just a cosmetic mod to give your characters who are not elves ears. Animated Wings is, again, just a cosmetic mod that adds some wings to your character. Book Covers of Skyrim is another little cosmetic mod that allows every book to have its own unique cover inside the game. Botox of Skyrim is a cosmetic mod that specifically changes the appearance of NPC characters and the default character selector when creating your character. Camera Noise is a simple little mod that actually makes it so that the camera moves instead of being very static. It's dynamic and it works really well. Circlets or Mask with all robes and hoods is a basic mod that has been in my load order since the dawn of Skyrim. Cloaks of Skyrim is just an immersion mod that adds a bunch of different cloaks into the game. Daedric Shrines All-in-One is a just general overhaul of all the Daedric Shrines, making them look both nicer and adds a couple of extra little bits of detail. Feminine Argonian Textures, Chameleon/Lizard, is just a different texture for the Argonians. And if you use things like UNP, you'll notice that these areas were unfortunately never touched in the original mod. Feminine Khajiit textures are more or less the same thing, And you can set these to a way that with the never nude options, you're not going to see anything that you don't want to. Footprints is a little cosmetic mod that makes it so that footprints show up in the snow. Gesture Animations Remix is, well, it does a very simple thing. It makes it so that characters who are speaking to you don't just stand idly. It's a small mod, but it does a little bit. Giada Magic Casting is another alternative magic casting mod that you can use with Dynamic Animation Replacer. Immersive Armors adds a ton of armors into the game. Improved Table Transition Animations is a mod that does one thing, and it's exactly in the name. Chaos Hairdos adds a ton of hairdos into the game, and Chaos Hairdo for all vanilla NPCs. Majestic Mountains makes the mountains in the distance look a little bit better. Point the Way is a cosmetic mod that actually makes the signs in Skyrim a little bit more legible. Pretty Combat Animations is an animation mod that allows you to change the way that your character looks in third person when doing combat. Pretty Jump Animations allows you to change your jump animation to be a different, more aesthetically pleasing one. Rustic Clothing is a clothing overhaul and texture mod that adds even more clothing into the game. Realistic Ragdolls is another staple mod that makes it so that when you ragdoll, your character looks more appropriate. Realistic Water 2 is the second version of Realistic Water, which makes the water textures look nice. Side Dragon Priest Mask allows you to change any Dragon Priest mask into an unarmored version and wear them along the side, almost like a circlet or even a hood. Static Mesh Improvement is a visual mod that improves the static mesh quality for a lot of things. TK Dodge is, well, dodge rolls, and it's kind of awesome. Tempered Skin for Males is a male overhaul mod that actually makes the male characters look aesthetically pleasing. This can be done in nude and non-nude versions. Eyes of Beauty Vampires and Eyes of Beauty allows you to actually make the eyes of your female and male characters stand out. UMP Body Fit Armors and Clothing fit the armors and clothing to the UMP Body Renewal, which is also in this pack. Wearable Beast Claws, Horns, Ears, and Tail allow you to equip beast parts onto a non-beast character. Wet and Cold makes it so that when things get cold or wet, see, it's in the name here, NPCs will dress accordingly. Recolor Bound Weapons adds elemental damage to the various bound weapons. It's kind of cheaty though, so you could disable this one if you want. Andromeda Unique Standing Stones changes the standing stone system in Skyrim so that each standing stone is actually fairly unique and has a secondary buff on top of a primary buff. Anna's Druid Conjuration adds a bunch of spells using default creatures to actually make some interesting conjuration magic. Apocalypse Magics of Skyrim is one of the best magic mods in Skyrim, and that is because it adds a ton of new spells with a ton of different ways to use them, and actually improves Skyrim's general magic system to an impressive level. Arcanium, A New Age of Magic, is another magic mod that you can add in. It adds a lot of post-game stuff for when you become the Archmage of the College of Winterhold. Better Vampires and Better Vampire Weapons have been added to make the vampires an actually interesting threat. A simple little cosmetic mod for werewolves is a bigger werewolf tail. Craftable unarmored vampire gear for mage vampires is another mod that's been in my load order for a long time, and that's because why don't vampires have mage armor? Elemental Destruction Magic adds a couple of different elements to the Destruction Magic pool, which includes things like water, wind, and earth. Equipable Tomes is a really interesting mod that adds 2 new equipment slots that allow you to have tomes equipped to the back of your character. These tomes do affect the way that you cast magic, and some of them are even legendary artifacts that you can find after certain quests. Female Vampires Have Fangs adds pronounced fangs to female vampires because surprisingly, they are missing. Flying mod. Beta is actually the only flying mod I could get working right now in Skyrim, and it works well enough. And with those animated dragon wings, it will look pretty good. Blockos Conjuration undead spells adds a bunch of little undead spells. Liam's Staves of Skyrim, more staves, always better. More Apocalypse adds more magic to the Apocalypse Magic mod, meaning even more spells. Ordinator Perks completely overhauls the perk system inside Skyrim. Stygic teleport spells adds a bunch of spells that would be somewhat lore friendly based around the Stygic order. Sky Shards adds a new way to collect perks and perk points. Now there's a second Sky Shard mod in here, which is Sky Shards offer skills. Strange Runes is a visual mod that adds some interesting little runes to when you cast magic. It's an anime effect. Supreme Vampire Lords is a visual mod that actually makes the Vampire Lords look a little less sickly and a lot more menacing. Vampire Lord perks expanded is much like Ordinators for just Vampire Lords. Vampire Lord's Real Flying allows you to fly as a Vampire Lord. Void Gate, a simple town portal. This one is, again, really good if you are not playing with fast travel. Werewolf Perks Expanded expands the number of perks for werewolf characters. Zim's Immersive Artifacts is another interesting mod that makes it so that all of the Daedric artifacts have been overhauled in a way that actually makes them very, very interesting. Wizard Tower is a player home that's actually based off the Wizard Tower in Oblivion, and I love it. Oblivion Gates adds, well, evidence of the Oblivion Crisis that for some reason is not evident inside Skyrim. Organized Bandits of Skyrim adds a bandit faction and faction system into the game. Ars Metallica fixes the smithing system by a mile. Beast of Tamriel greatly increases the number of monsters that you may find out in the open world. Beyond Skyrim Reach is an expansion into the Skyrim overworld and is a pretty in-depth quest. Beyond Skyrim Bruma is a very similar situation and is a taste for the Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil. Coldhaven, a vampire city, is another little bit of questing and world space mod that actually adds a city of Coldhaven to the underworld of Skyrim. Cutting Room Floor adds a ton of content that was cut out of Skyrim and does change a lot about the Civil War and the things around the Civil War. Depths of Skyrim, an overhaul of the underwater system, makes it so that you may want to swim in the ocean. Granted, we've added creatures that can attack you in the ocean that aren't just slaughterfish, but hey, it adds a lot of interesting depth to the ocean, seaweed and different types of fauna, and well, it might be worth actually investigating some of those rather ominous whale noises that you hear out into the ghost sea. Depths of the Reach are not more underwater content, but actually another world space expansion, which allows you to explore deeper into the Reach. Diverse Dragons Collection. Have you ever gotten tired of just fighting the same red, blue, and dread dragons? Well, this one allows you to fight all sorts of dragons that you've never seen before. Dungeons Revisited takes a bunch of the OG dungeons and remasters them, making them both longer, a little bit more maze-like, and filled with more loot. Forgotten Dungeons adds a ton of new locations. Forgotten Dungeons' unique rewards makes it truly worth it to delve into them. Phylactrum adds staves and wands to the game. Helgen Reborn is a mod that actually allows you to rebuild Helgen. Immersive Citizens AI overhaul allows citizens to move around the world and have general schedules that they stick to. The Immersive College of Winterhold is a Winterhold overhaul mod, since the College of Winterhold is probably one of the most lackluster locations in the game. Immersive Patrols adds a bunch of interesting dynamic interactions into the world. Immersive Weapons adds a bunch of other weapons into the game that, well, again, feel like they could just be there. Interesting NPCs SE adds a ton of NPCs with lots and lots of dialogue. JK's Skyrim overhauls every single city and town in the game. Katana crafting, not really lore friendly. I mean, kinda could be. The Akaviri did have katana. And lore weapons expansion. This adds a bunch of lore based weapons. Mage Light Keep is a player home. Merlin the Corgi is a follower who is a literal corgi. Missives adds a bounty board into all of the holds that you can get, well, missives from. The Realm of Lorkhan is probably one of the bigger mods that you're going to see in this mod list, and it completely changes the start of the game. Relationship dialogue overhaul allows you to actually romance more characters than you thought, but also changes the way that certain characters address you. Richer Skyrim Merchants is because, well, the merchants in Skyrim are way too poor for what they are. Ruins Clutter Improved is just more clutter in the ruins to make them look nicer. Side Quest of Skyrim adds a bunch of side quests into the game through normal NPC interaction. Skyrim Extended Cut Saints and Seducers actually is a really cool mod, and I can't wait for Skyrim Extended Cut to fully come out. Skyrim Immersive Creatures adds a bunch of creatures that can easily kick your butts in this game. Skyrim Expanded Weaponry adds even more weapons into the game and more options for weapons into the game. Skyrim Way Shrines is a nice alternative to fast travel. Granted, there's an entire quest to actually unlock the way shrines. Somerset Isles is an expansion into, again, the College of Winterhold quest. The Estrella Dwemer airship has been one of my favorite player homes for a long time, and it's just been getting better and better as it goes. The Forgotten City is interesting because it's actually becoming its own game very soon. The Parthenax Dilemma allows you to not kill Parthenax when the Blades want you to, but still continue on to the Blades questline. Ultimate Combat SE overhauls the combat for the game. Unique Uniques makes every unique weapon actually unique in texture instead of just recolored versions of existing weapons. That is all 138 mods.
That's one heck of a load order, isn't it? This load order was designed around one concept, and that concept was making Skyrim fresh for your Steam Deck playthrough. And installing mods is not that hard to do. I've already shown it off before, but let me show you again, just so that you know how to actually install mods like this onto the Steam Deck.
Now, the first step is actually very, very simple. You just need to run Skyrim on your Steam Deck and on your Windows device. Of course, you should have done this before modding anyway, but just in case, make sure you run it on your Steam Deck so that everything is set up in the proper way for the mods. Next, we're just going to go ahead and open up a folder that is on a transferable USB device so that we can actually transfer everything to our Steam Deck. Since we use Vortex to install all of our mods, we can actually go up to Open and then Game Folder, and it will actually give us the game folder. The second way we can do this, you can actually come up to Skyrim Special Edition, Properties, go to Local Files, Browse, and that will open them up as well. Now, to make your life easier on the Steam Deck and make it a one button press executable, go ahead and change the SKSE loader to Skyrim Special Edition Launcher. This Skyrim Special Edition Launcher old that I have here is what I renamed the launcher just in case I needed to run this to change resolutions or anything. It will make it so that launching it is as simple as pressing a single button. We're just gonna copy all of this into our folder. Now, while that's going, let's go ahead and grab a little bit more. So this is easiest to do from Nexus. We want to open up the game application folder, and in there, you're going to see these two files. We want to copy those as well. All right, so now we're just going to go ahead and take all these files from our USB device, put them right into the Skyrim Special Edition folder. All right, so now you're going to need to locate this file and copy in your plugins and your loader, which this is in primary Steam apps, compat data. This is the string for Skyrim right here. PFX, drive C, users, Steam user, app data, local, Skyrim Special Edition. It is difficult to find. It took me a while to re-find it, but yeah, it's a fun one to get to. And once everything's downloaded, you can just launch Skyrim like nothing has changed. That took so long to finish transferring that I actually, it's the next day. You can see the sun behind me. But now that it's done, if we just hit play, what we're going to see is it's going to actually pop up with SKSE instead, which there's that. Boom. SKSE is going to load. Now, this is going to take way longer than it does on PC, but it will get done. And once it's done, the game will just launch. And there you have it. Skyrim's loaded. Now, there is one downside to doing this. You need to start your save file on the Steam Deck for it to work. For some reason, the Steam Deck does not like to pick up after a PC has started with the SKSE plugins, but if it starts them and then it goes to the PC and then comes back, it's perfectly fine. And there you have it. It works just fine. We can go ahead. This is race menu. This is, of course, a clean version of everything, but you want to just, you can go ahead and put KS hairdos. There you go. KS hairdos works just fine. As you can see, all of the efforts that we did to add in physics work just fine. Everything just works.
All right, and there you have it. That is my ultimate modded Skyrim for Steam Deck. And I think it's not that bad of a load order. I actually really enjoyed the load order. I've been playing it for a little while now. I think it's a lot of fun. But now that I've shown you how to do it yourself, go ahead and take it and do what you want with it. I'm not going to dictate anything. Have fun. But if you want to check out my load order, I did actually create a compilation thing on Nexus. You can check it out below. It has all the same mods that I've installed here. And of course, if you also want to support our channel, you can leave us a super thanks, maybe check out our merch, or even just click another one of these videos on the side, because all those things actually help us. But that is where I'm going to end today. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you. Wolfy out.